Okay, so you're pulling it over.
Is this his thing here?
Tell Ryan what to, yeah. Yeah, I think you're upside down.
Sideways.
Start with a little math equation.
Oh no.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Ryan to hopefully join us, like what do you guys have going on? What questions, issues, concerns, celebrations? We should be good about doing that too.
I had my 1-year review and I didn't get fired.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe it?
If you would have gotten fired, I would have been shocked.
Close.
Yeah, it was a tough choice for Kelly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. All while you were on vacation, she was hemming and hawing,
Yep.
what
I
to
knew
do,
it.
what to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I just didn't feel like having to hire somebody else. Fine, you can stay.
You'll do.
Yeah.
No, it was a great meeting.
I am sure it was.
It was great.
I have a random thing. So I met with potential buyers last night, and so it's a couple I knew the guy like years ago. I haven't seen him in years, but he reached out to me on Facebook. He's like, hey, it looks like you're killing in real estate. Do you want to help show me and my wife some houses? I'm like, yeah. So anyway, we set up the buyer consult for last night, but in the meantime, so he contacted me Sunday, so between Sunday and yesterday, she talked to someone at, I think the bar that she works at, who's selling their home. So they already bought their next home, this other person,
Okay.
and now they need to sell their Farmington home.
Okay.
That's
Hi, Ryan.
the area they want to be in. And
Ryan?
He's still on the mute.
Oh, okay. As long as he can hear us. Okay, go on, Megan.
so, there he is. Ryan, thanks for this parent award. If you can hear me. Always excited.
Can you hear us?
Oh,
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
You guys don't need to see my face that big. I'm sorry.
Oh.
No one needs that.
Well, that's kind of what I
mind
was
your
thinking, but I
face.
wasn't gonna say it.
Okay, Megan is telling us not a story.
kind of a story, but
Yeah.
just a question will come at the end.
Okay.
Okay, so they, this seller said she's gonna list it next week for 400, but if they're interested, she would potentially work with them.
Okay.
She said to them, because they haven't signed with me yet or anything, but if we don't use agents, I'll sell it to you for 400. If we do, it's gonna be 410. I don't know if that means, I know. I don't know if that means she's not going to use the agent that she used to purchase, you know what I mean? Like if she's not gonna use one at all, and then she doesn't want a buyer's agent involved either. And I was like, okay, you guys totally deserve representation. I'm not gonna force you to use me, but like, how are you gonna get through this whole thing without one? And anyway, like now they already have her dad coming out Saturday to look at the house, kind of like an
Have they seen
inspection.
the house?
They did see it yesterday before they met with me.
Okay.
She loves it, he likes it too, he sees potential in finishing some of the basement off, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So I don't know if they'll end up using me. Again, I only knew him, I don't know her. He was talking like a lot about stuff from like back in the day, and I'm like, can we just focus on what's going on?
Yeah.
So I don't know if the wife like even likes me, to be honest. I tried, but he just wouldn't stop talking about like our old friends and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. So either way, if they do end up using me, would you do that showing compensation, like get that signed? Because if I happen to go there Saturday.
By the seller.
Yes, by the seller, yep. So you would just like get that signed.
Oh.
You would get that signed, like whether or not she's using, because I don't know what her status is.
So once she signs the showing compensation,
Yep.
that just confirms that you
I'll
are
get
going
paid.
to get paid.
It doesn't even matter if
She
she.
can still get a
yeah.
listing agent, she can still, that has nothing to do with,
Right.
you're not representing her, it's not a contract really, even with her, other than
That
that
she'll pay.
she's agreeing to pay that
Yeah.
commission, whatever it is, 2.7.
Yeah.
I would go back to these friends of yours, like your potential clients,
Yep.
and say, you know, first off, you write an offer, but 10,000 and Kelly, like, I want your opinion on this too. But my thought is,
Cause she thinks when
From
she goes on the
4 to
market at
410?
400, yeah, she's gonna get way more than that. So she's like, well, it'd be fair if like you guys use an agent then to do 410. Anyway,
right, so,
proceed
but
with your
that's,
thought.
that, 410 to me, that extra 10,000 for them to get representation, still probably get a deal on that house versus it going on the market and it going for 440 or 450,
Yeah.
which you do not need to explain to the seller. 'Cause
Right.
she's not your client.
Right.
And that $10,000 for your buyers is really pretty reasonable on their monthly payment.
Yeah. Won't make a huge.
I would, then at least they know they're being represented, and whatever she decides to do, whether she gets an agent or not, or has one, whatever that
Yeah.
story is, doesn't matter, but they know that someone is looking out for their best interests.
Right.
That's how I would spin it, I guess.
I've never actually used that form. I mean, I've seen it, I've looked at it. I've never been in the position where I
You
have
literally
to.
write their names on it, so
Yeah.
it's just a lot of verbiage that essentially says, you're agreeing that I, agent, represent the buyers,
Yeah.
and that you, seller, will pay me this commission. And then you have to write your clients' names in, so it's not like you
Right,
can
I
bring
saw-
any buyer with that, it's specifically to
Just
those
them.
buyers.
It's
What are your thoughts?
I would agree, with what you said. I feel like 410, if they feel like that's still, reasonable for that house, which if she's looking listed at 400, like you said, she would probably get, the first number in my head was 450. And then like you said, 440, 450, yeah, I feel like that's
the weird
a
thing
good
is,
deal.
I looked at comps and so they built the home in 2010. I'm not clear on if they finished more of it, but on the county website, it's not on the MLS. County website, it's like 1,200 something square feet finished. But like, it's actually, at that price, it would be priced pretty high compared to others around there. There's a coming soon that's gonna be 400, but it's like over, I wanna say over 2,500 square feet finished. So I'm like,
My guess, and again, I guess you need to,
I haven't seen the house, I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, and it's been 12 years,
Right,
so
my guess
the
is
chances
finished,
of
they've
they'll,
They've done
yeah.
some of it at least, yeah.
Yeah.
He did mention one bedroom, he's like, I think that could almost be counted as bedroom, like, the drywall's up, there is a window, whatever, so it sounded like it's not totally done. You know what I mean?
well, I think the next step would be to talk to your clients, of your buyers, and say, I'd at least like the opportunity, I'd like to go see it with you, so
Yeah.
I can let you know, is 400 even fair?
Yeah.
Just because that's what she wants listed at, doesn't mean that that's necessarily what it's worth.
Yeah.
Like Kelly said, most likely it would go for more than that, but
Yeah.
that's where your representation comes in, right? You're making sure that they're
Yeah.
not totally overpaying even in this market. or
Right.
something.
Would you not go look at it until they signed a buyer rep and that showing compensation is
Yes.
signed? Both of them? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I don't know,
And
it was
you
just
can-
kind of weird.
I've done it, I've had a couple of FISBOs where, I brought the showing compensation form, or whatever it's called now, showing compensation form,
something like that.
with me. And the seller was meeting me there, and my client, I would just get there maybe 15 minutes early, so I
Okay.
could go over this, have them sign it,
Yeah,
and then my clients would come and we would do the showing right then.
yeah.
So I don't know that you need to meet with her today and set, but when you talk to her, if you talk to her, explain, this, for me to show this,
Yeah,
and this is what my clients are thinking they are, at this point, they're gonna use me, but I would like to see the property so that I can help them.
right. I did tell them I'd want to see it before, if they use me and if they do end up wanting to submit an offer. But then I was thinking I would just get the seller's number from them, but that's not weird? How else am I gonna talk to her about
That's
her
exactly
signing the
right.
form? Yeah.
And you're not calling to try and represent her.
Right.
So if there is another agent involved, you're not stepping on toes.
Right.
You, essentially what you would be saying too is, hey, I got your name from my buyer clients.
Yeah.
They're interested in your house, they, they saw it.
Yeah.
Do you have an agent I should be reaching out to?
Yeah.
And if they say no, if she says no, then say, okay, great, well, here's what I'd like to do.
And then if she
You
says, oh, go ahead.
Post this link in the Facebook group under my, just because if anyone else is trying to get in, the wrong link is there.
And then if they do, if she says she is having that other agent represent her on this transaction too, since it's not like, if we do this off market, I would still have her sign the showing compensation, because how else is that guaranteeing my?
I mean, that's probably the safest way to go about doing it,
Yeah.
so that you actually have a record of it.
Yeah.
The other option that might be a little less, fail-safe would be to go to the agent, if, this listing agent, and say, hey, I have buyers that are interested in your listing, what are you offering? I just need to confirm, what are you offering the buy side?
Right.
And then you'll, and
Like
I do
have
it
that
over
like an email, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
that
I
makes
think the
sense.
safest way is that one-time showing.
That form.
Yeah. That's like the one thing with showing withhelds, is you don't have the MLS to back up your commission.
Right.
So you do, that is something that we should think about. Like, I forget
Mhm.
Yeah.
until all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, I'm showing this withheld. I don't, like, with someone in our office, I
Right.
guess that's one thing. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying desperately to show one that is not in our office, but I found out about it. I think this is all on the up and up. Like,
Mhm.
she didn't reach out to me. My buyers found out about it, and I reached out to her. She told me it's withheld. And
Yeah, so I don't even, it must be, this one must be withheld,
I would,
if it's not coming
but
soon.
I mean, if it's withheld and now she's going directly to a buyer and saying, let's cut out the agents, that's
I would think that
pretty
would be
sketchy.
uncool.
I guess
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Like what the deal is.
Which is all the more reason, to be honest, that's all the more reason why I'd be going to those buyers and saying, look, you need someone looking out for you
Yeah,
during this.
yeah. I mean, I did tell them that, but
Yeah.
I was like, God, the guy wouldn't stop talking, and I felt like he was leaving the wife out of the conversation, and I was
Yeah.
trying to include her, and then
Yeah. I hope she recognized that.
I tried my best, but it was kind of weird. It was here too. We met at like 5:45 last night. Like no one else was here,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden she's like, we have to go pick up our kids.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, I feel like you don't need to just say that. But we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm, in any situation, unless someone says like, no, we're not using you,
Yeah.
then I'm hands off. But if that door is open,
Yeah.
I'm for sure still following up and letting them know what I can do to help and all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
especially if you can get this done and not have to show them 80,000 houses
I'm like,
and make
right,
offers.
because lately I've just been feeling like, as I've been saying, I've been doing so much work and nothing's like working. I'm like, can this just work out?
Yeah.
I'd be so
Just-
happy.
Yeah, throw me a bone.
No.
Right, get your little handy phone calculators ready. Ryan, we're gonna do some math. Selena, we're gonna do some math. I saw her. So, in growth coaching, we've talked about this in the past. I wanted to revisit it when we talk about consistency, but I looked up some more current numbers when it comes to a 36 touch. And I want to give you guys a little inkling of what your gross commission could look like if you were doing a true 36 touch, which we're going to get into and brainstorm some ideas, and you were really focusing on getting all the contact information for as many of the people in your database, in your sphere, as possible. What would that look like if you had all of their contact information? Name. What else?
Physical address.
Street address, yep, their actual physical address.
Email.
Phone, email. And then, of course, with command, you can be pulling in Facebook, you can be pulling in some other social media stuff, which just, in a sense, rounds that out. But those name, address, email address, phone, if you have all of that for a contact, then you, in my opinion, Jason can pipe in here too, but that would be a full contact. It might not give you
It
100%
considers
of
an
command.
80%, and we always talk about the 20% that's gonna get you 80.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that is
That's
it.
enough for you to do a true 36 touch. You can hit them from lots of different angles that way. Okay. The new numbers that I looked up as of 2021 for 36 touch are that you should see about a 16% return on your database. But that's only for people where you have name, address, email, phone number. So what I want you to do right now, you can look for actual numbers, you can estimate this in your head if you want, but I want you to think about how many people in your database do you have an 80% or more contact filled out? You don't have to share the number if you don't want to, but
Of course I didn't bring my laptop.
that's okay. You can do this again once you can get in front of your laptop, but if you sort of have a guess right now. So for instance, you know, if you've got 580 people in your database, but you really only have a full contact for 73, then you're gonna be we're gonna base this next step on that 73. Make sense? Ryan, Selena, you with me?
For the small amount of people I have in my database, I don't need a calculator for this one.
You can do the math in your head, that's great. All right, so I want you to take that number times 0.16. I'm so curious if you two have the same number. Like, cause
I'm just trying to think.
I don't even,
We have like 1,200.
In command, can you like filter
Not
somehow
anywhere
or
near
find which ones you have the
everybody has.
80% for?
that,
Which ones you have 80%?
That's what we want, right?
well, yes, so as long as that 80%, which I think Command would calculate it from that address, email.
Yeah.
I
right.
put
So,
down 200, but I'm like, okay,
what
so. all
I
the
would do,
clients,
and we kind of talked about this
Yeah.
the
Got
other
all of
day,
their
is if
information.
you sort,
Yeah. So that will be
That's
a
right behind you.
list in the past
if you sort your contacts by email,
roughly.
And then here, look at that,
Then you
then you
can see
can
what's
see.
missing or what, okay.
Yeah.
Just to
right?
be-
And the same thing with
just to have a
phone,
number.
and then
Yeah.
the same thing with address. Then you can, like in this case, you can see all these people down here need an email. Let's go ahead and select a few of them real quick. Waylon Smithers, you know him, Marge and Homer, Barney Gumble, all these cats here.
At first I thought this was yours.
But once you get that, you can select a bulk action, add a tag, and in this case, you can go with needs email. And that would
Oh.
tag all of these people with to add an email with a tag that then says needs email. Same thing with phone, same thing with address. And once you've got those things tagged, it either A, makes it super simple to go back and go, all right, I gotta call Homer and get an email. Or to your
Can't call
point,
Homer because there's no phone number.
you can't call Homer, so you're really in a lurch here. But if you go to tags, to your point, honestly, you could go here and go to needs email and hit apply. This will sort my thing to just the people who needs email. And it turns out I only have 8 people who need an email.
Okay.
Or same thing with phone number or address.
right.
You can switch any of those things around. But that's real quick.
Is there a way to filter, Jason, to see who has a full contact?
I don't think contact score is a searchable, as a filter choice.
But by
Okay.
doing this, essentially what this created here was a list of the people that now you reach out to get their email and or get their phone number. And so it's a reason to contact them, and you're filling out more and more of those contacts. That's gonna change this number that we're gonna calculate. So take your number of full contacts, whether that's 7 or 782, take that number of full contacts and then multiply it times 0.16. That would be 16%, correct?
Yes.
That single minute of Jason's wisdom was worth the full hour. Great, that's why we like to have him here. You need to keep coming back for more of those nuggets, Ryan. All right, so now you have the number of transactions, the number of clients that you could potentially help if you were doing a true 36 touch. And now, if you want to, you can multiply that times what, 7,500, 9,000, whatever your average commission check is, and get your gross commission from your 36 touch database.
Can I ask you a crazy question? Where does the 0.16 come from?
I looked it up. It came from a KW, because I always thought it was 10%.
Okay. What if I told you that every 13 years, the average person buys or sells a home?
Yes.
What if I told you that that means about every 6.5 years, they're either a buyer or a seller on
Yeah.
average math?
Yeah.
And that if you took 100 and divided it by 6, you'd get 0.16. What if I told you that?
You like mind blown.
Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
That's brilliant. Well, that's where that number came from then, Jason. I just Googled it. He actually explained where it came from.
If you can get that bulletproof, and that's the term, and that's what you're bulletproof.
Yeah, that's
How do I
where this
bulletproof
is going. And why I wanted to talk about that consistency, and that word, to me, consistency essentially equates to a 36 touch, a true one. But what I wanted to do is get you thinking about what with what you currently have, what's the potential of a true 36 touch and true consistent follow-up. And then also, what about going and getting as many of these emails and phone numbers and physical addresses as you can for everybody in your database? And the more of that, the larger that number gets, the larger that gross commission gets. You look confused.
I don't understand why I wouldn't play Candy Crush instead of getting phone numbers.
Jason's gonna play Candy Crush while the rest of you go get more business. He just left more business on the table for the rest of us. It's true though. We've all heard Gary Keller say it. We've all talked about it here. It's simple, not easy. It is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
It's so simple. I mean, to say it that way, just go get people's emails, guys.
And with the command app, it's even that much easier to make those phone calls or whatever, because you can sort just like
Yep.
we did just right here.
And one of the things that I want to have Jason talking about more in the future, and potentially like kicking this off next week if he's covering for me while I'm on vacation, but I threw out the idea of really diving into using command as a true CRM. And the 36 touch is a piece of that. It's not all of it though. But I think a lot of us use command as a place to kind of store our information. And really, if you really want to use it for what it's meant to do, it's essentially giving you your to-do lists every single day. And again, that comes down to consistency. That comes down to, I had a conversation with an open house lead, and now command is going to remind me tomorrow to send them a thank you card, or command is going to remind me in 2 days to give them a call, whatever that all might look like, whatever your smart plans are. But that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to have 25 sticky notes all over your desk reminding you to do things. It's literally reminding you every day. That's what a CRM is for. And that's what command was built for. I know sometimes I tend to use my database as like a address book. Oh, I need so-and-so's phone number. But now that we're really using it as a CRM, it can be a game changer for your business. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about 36 touch and then just consistency in general. But you have a number in your head now of a gross commission or a number of transactions that you could hit if you were doing a true 36 touch. And I know you've got a 36 touch, Kelly. You've got a 36 touch. Ryan, Selena, do you guys have some kind of 36 touch, true 36 touches or more per year?
No.
I appreciate your honesty, Selena. Ryan?
He said the simple answer is no.
Okay. Oh. Yep. So we've got 3 agents here who all have a 36 touch up and running, and I would love to share some of our ideas and thoughts with Selena and Ryan, and we can learn from each other as well. But the simplest way that I can explain a 36 touch.
He's waiting for your class.
Maybe next month, Ryan. I was just talking to Stacy about that today. She's
Obviously, that's sarcasm.
It's true. I teach it every once in a while. It's about
I know
time.
you do, but that's an excuse.
Whoa, that's why you don't have one yet.
Yeah, I'm blaming someone else for my failure.
Well, I'll make sure you don't have that excuse much longer. But we know 36 touch, or reaching out to people 36 times a year, 3 times a month, however you want to space that out. But what I want to talk about today, and again, using command, is that consistency piece. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to agents, growth agents, but also like just agents throughout the market center who get all excited about their 36 touch. And then it never actually happens. Do you have a guess why? You were a part of many of these conversations.
It's like too much to try to do at once.
Yep,
Yeah.
taking on too much, making it too complicated.
Not scalable.
And that was the word. Yep, when I was talking to Jason about this earlier, he said, you better say the word scalable when you were talking to them. But that's the truth. If you're gonna grow, and I assume that's everybody's goal if you're here as in here right now, and here as in this market center. If your goal is to grow, you have to start creating systems now that are gonna be able to grow with you. So having a 36 touch that is as systematized as possible, so that you add someone to it, and then you really don't have to think about it other than maybe a few of those touches per year. You're picking up the phone for a quarterly call, or you're sending a birthday card. You could use AM cards, or there's other companies, and then you don't even have to think about that. But making it so that it is happening without you even really having to think about it.
Can I ask a quick side note? What do you guys do for birthday cards? Do you handwrite them?
Well, yes, although since we switched CRMs, birthdays aren't in it yet, so I have totally dropped the ball this year on birthday cards.
Thank God you switched.
When you say birthdays aren't in it, you can't put the birthday in it?
No, we can.
Oh, you just haven't
haven't
gotten
done
it in there yet. Okay.
And
Can I do want to touch on that command in other CRM piece. Keller Williams is 100% behind command, comma. This year's focus is on opening it up to other things, and there's a recommendation that can't be everything to everybody all the time and compete. So the focus this year for tech, on the tech side, is to work on APIs, and APIs would be the bridge between command and these other options. And that is because they recognize they can't be everything to everybody all at the same time and keep up with companies who only do one thing and do it well. So you just want command to be kind of the hub and everything to radiate out from that. And if you want to use Canva, you shouldn't be upset about that. If you want to use Dotloop, there is a way to do that if you go into the marketplace right here. If those are the things you use, the goal this year is to bring them and those pieces back into your thing. But when you're a newer agent, or you're getting started, or you're developing your business, don't worry about that stuff.
right.
Worry about command. As your business grows and you find a need for something extra, that's when you start exploring those options. Don't start outside and work your way in. Start in and work your way out.
And I mean, my thought would be step number one, if you're a new agent or you're just an agent that wants to get more people in their database, is go out and get people's contact information and then get it entered.
Page 41, MREA. You don't
just
have
here.
enough contacts to hit your targets. You have no other problem.
Exactly. What was the quote that you had? That was a few weeks ago now, but if you think real estate is unpredictable, you just don't know your numbers.
You don't know your numbers. know your numbers,
And
build a
it's-
business.
Since you showed me that quote, and I mean, it came up yesterday in the MREA book club meeting. I mean, that keeps coming up again and again as people are talking about goals. And whether they have the business or don't have the business, and it all comes down to, do you know what you need to be doing? Do you know how many appointments you need to be going on? And if you don't, then how are you going to even take the next step?
Trying to do this, but it's really hard. Understanding how to customize your columns so the only thing you see, email, phone, address. What else are you using? Do you really care when the last time you talked to them was? I mean, maybe you do, but if that's not where your business is, that's not the primary focus.
Yeah.
Customized columns
Brilliant.
allows you to see specifically which columns you have and what order you see them in. You can add other columns if you want.
So doing this right here and go back to your to apply.
I'm gonna take tags out just for giggles real quick.
But this seems like a pretty quick way to go through, and I guess you wouldn't be able to bulk add necessarily, or maybe
Sure you can.
But you just scroll through, and if you're looking at email, phone, and address, and now I know that Bucky Barnes doesn't have an address, I can take that.
Right, so what you would do to do that is you force rank the column,
Go. And then everyone
and
that
then
doesn't,
you go down to the bottom,
there you go.
but it doesn't. As you put it, doesn't work like that one. For this column, it won't.
So from Fred Flintstone down, those people need
Yep,
addresses.
and if you wanted to bulk them, for just these folks, bing, bing, bing.
Yep.
bing. Bulk action, add a tag. Super slow right now, but
I want to hear from Kelly and from Megan, what would you say, when you think about your 36 touch, what you're actually doing, can you point to the thing that you feel like maybe got you either the most business, or sometimes it's hard to do that, but got you the most, like, I can't think of the right word. Communication,
Engagement.
engagement,
Yeah.
that is exactly the word I was looking for. Can you think of something in your 36 touch that did that?
I would say my sensation is probably, that's what I would say too, yeah.
Most comments or.
But I did just send out the lottery tickets, but those were only to, past clients. So not like my full whatever, but a lot of people texted me a photo of it. Oh, thanks so much. I won $4 or I didn't win
Yeah.
anything, but thank you, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
so that's definitely engagement.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I would say we got a good response last year from people with the lottery ticket. And again, ours, just the VIPs and past clients. And this would also be VIPs and past clients, but just invitations to client events,
Yes.
even if they can't come, just the invitation, is a good chance to talk to people.
I definitely think if you can incorporate events into your 36 touch, you get so many touches out of that with the invitation, the follow-up, the actual event. If they come, you can always follow up after the event, thanking them for coming, or sorry I missed you. You can really build in several touches there. I would argue that you shouldn't necessarily count all of those in your 36 touch,
Right.
but that you'd sort of get a lot of interaction, whether it's people saying like, oh, I can't make it, but thank you for inviting me, or people showing up. Yeah, absolutely. Ryan and Selena, do you guys have any questions or ideas that you want to share about a 36 touch?
I don't have a 36 touch, but I do like a couple client events, but I feel like I need to be more consistent about the different holidays and stuff, just getting different things out to them. So I wrote down those things that I need to add.
Did you ever do sensations, Selena?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So and those go out to your, I mean, whoever is on that list for you?
Yeah, my neighborhood and then people that I've worked with.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I agree with Megan. She said that the sensations might create of her 36 touch, that gets the most engagement. And I would say that's true for me too. People comment on those all the time to me.
Funny thing on that, Emily, the new agent, my friend, I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking you off my thing now that you're like, she goes, but I like those recipes. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not spending money. And I took like her parents and her siblings out too,
funny.
because, you know, she's like, well, everyone likes those.
You're like, great, you start.
Yeah, now
sending
you
them.
can send them.
Sure.
It's kind of funny.
Ryan, did you have anything?
I think my biggest thing, and this is something I'm working on the side, is even just I'm not good enough at blocking out time just to do lead gen, let alone, and this is where I need to work, is even just to set up my 36 touch. So that I can take that time off my plate. Because right now I'm doing a lot of things manually, right? I do make quarterly phone calls to my database.
Okay, that's 4 touches.
Yeah, I have been doing that, but it is just, my whole thing is I just need to find my right balance right now.
Well, and here's the thing too, when I talk about consistency, when I talk about a 36 touch, when I talk about follow-up, the thing is you do have to figure out what works for you, and maybe doing an actual, 36 touches or more per year right now isn't an option. That's something to shoot for. I think it should be a goal. But maybe right now it's getting your database on sensations, or picking 100 people that you're gonna send the sensations postcard to. It doesn't even have to be everybody in your database, but doing something,
right.
And then you can grow from there. But then if you're doing your quarterly calls, you've got people on sensations, and then throw them on the neighborhood nurture or some kind of smart plan in command, and now you've got several touches that you really don't even have to think about. I mean, yes, the quarterly calls, you're picking up the phone and calling, but they're getting that postcard from you every month. You don't have to think about it. I got a call today from a past client of mine, and he used to be an appraiser. Now he is a tax assessor in Eden Prairie. And he called because he wanted to pick my brain on just some stuff he's been hearing from people. They're very unhappy with their high tax assessed values.
I saw posts about that on like the neighborhood,
Yes,
whatever.
he's like, if you're looking
Yeah,
on like
people are
next
mad.
door, and yeah, people
They're
like,
trying to dispute it and.
yeah, that's what so he's like, my days now are completely dealing with people who are disputing their tax assessed value. But he started off this conversation, and this was a guy, I helped he and his wife buy their first house a year ago. I knew he wasn't calling to sell. I would have been shocked if that was the case. But he had texted and said, can I give you a call? I want to talk real estate. So the first thing he said when I answered the phone was, I got your market report, which is essentially the same thing as the neighborhood nurture thing. I got your market report. Thank you so much for sending that. I mean, you didn't have to take the time to do that for me. And I was like,
You're like, yes, I individually
But-
take the time to do it for everyone.
but I said, so of course what I said was, oh my gosh, well, I'm glad that you found it helpful. And of course, his question then was, he was telling me about all these people that are contesting these values. And he said, but what I found really interesting is we got our tax assessed value. They bought a house in Burnsville. And when you sent the market report, your market report shows that it's probably worth even more than that. He's like, I just wanted your 2 cents. Do you think that our house today would be worth this? And I know their house. I said, yes, I think it would absolutely sell for that or more. And he was just looking for some information he could share with people that are contesting this to put their minds at ease. And we had a really good conversation. But I just loved that the first thing out of his mouth was, thank you, that was really interesting and helpful, and you know, it meant a lot that you took the time to do that. Oh, yeah. Or people, you've heard this a million times, when people will see me at Target or wherever, and they'll say, oh, we made beef stroganoff was like the biggest hit for my Sensations postcard, but people say, we made your beef stroganoff last night. They say that it's I don't even know what it is.
Your
I do
own
know what it is,
personal
but
recipe.
yeah, but it's like they think I'm handwriting these recipes and sending them off. That's great. I'm glad they think that. The fact is, I don't have the time to do that, and so it's just magically happening behind the scenes. So Ryan, my point for you is to get some of that systematized stuff up, because you're right, you don't have the time to sit down and do hours of lead gen every day. But if you can take a little bit of time to get people set up on smart plans, if you can, Jason likes to give me hints of what to say next, and I really appreciate it, I really, really do. But if you can get people set up on smart plans, if you can get people set up on a monthly postcard or whatever makes sense for you, then to some extent that lead gen is happening without you having to sit down and do it. Thoughts?
Did that guy say if people contest their new tax assessment, do they ever change it?
No, he
I'm
said,
just
as a
curious.
matter of fact, he was just at one yesterday, and this is sort of what prompted him to call me, because he was just really surprised, but she was really upset. So he went back out there, and the house was in better condition and more updated than he was expecting, and he raised it.
Wow.
But he was like, she was livid, And he said, but I'm looking at it, it's in better condition than we thought, so it technically should be worth more. And he was just saying, I'm thinking, then I started thinking about, well, if you were gonna list this, what would it, and that's not to say, they're different numbers, but it was this, and I said, do you think people are contesting this because they don't want their taxes to go up? And he said,
That's what
I don't know anything about how property taxes work, so I'm telling you what he said to me. He said there is so much misinformation out there about taxes and property values, and no, just because your value went up does not mean that your property taxes are going up. But that's why people are upset.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and I thought they went up.
I thought
Goes
that
up
did too. I thought
Yeah.
there was like a mill rate or whatever that was, figured and then like multiplied against your value or something, and.
Well, but your value has a cap, and it can only go up by so much each month or each
Right.
year, and there's so
He
many other
said
little.
he said they've reevaluated that cap per month, but he said that on average in Eden Prairie, home values went up 20% from last year to this year. And he said their house in Burnsville that they bought with me just a year ago, it was 2021. He said that one, he was like, so he went home and figured out theirs went up 19% in Burnsville. And they've done a fair amount of updates to that house that I don't know if the county knows how much of that.
Right.
That's why I was like, well, your house would sell for more than that. I know it.
That's the thing, when they determine these values, when the county does, they really don't know what the inside looks
Not
like.
really.
Like, what exactly did they go off of?
Permits, polls.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
And
So they
stuff
look
like
at that stuff,
But yeah, and that's why a lot of people, when they do work, they don't want to pull the permits, because they don't want the county to know that they're improving their house.
yeah.
You can stop me because I know I've told this story before, but I had a seller several years ago where I pulled up the tax county records and thought it was like a 3,600 square foot home. I did comps for that. Most of the homes in the area were, 35 or more. And I get there and we're walking through the house, and he and his wife, we go down into the basement and it's unfinished. And I was like, said, so do you really have 3,800 square feet finished on the main and second levels? He's like, no, it's like maybe 2,500. And I said, I had printed out the tax. I said, do you know that the county thinks your house is 3,800, 3,700, whatever it was. And he did try to contest it. By the time we sold, it didn't. But he had been paying for essentially 1,200 extra square feet for years. But we figured out, talking to the county and blah, 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 that it was because a previous owner had pulled a permit to finish the basement and then never did it.
Oh. my gosh. Well, that kind of sucks. They should like, the county, they should have to report to the county when they finish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
weird.
So, anyway, okay. You got stuff? You look like.
Well,
you
you're
were-
just talking about a different kind of plan, and in from a CRM perspective, right? This is a plan, you can find it on the library, in the Smart Plans library, called My Social Media Touch Reminder. And the task will populate every 15 days, comment on contacts post. That will
I
be the
did not know
task
that
that
was in
shows
there.
up.
That's cool.
Uh-uh.
Make sure it contains a compliment and a question to get the best response and create an exchange. If you've already interacted with this client in the past 2 weeks, you can ignore it. But that's the task description that's gonna show up in your task list. And if you set it, when you set it up, like if you in bulk add this to all of your contacts, for example, you just in bulk add it to all your contacts, it's gonna ask you, how many do you wanna do a day? And you know what? I wanna do 4. I wanna do 7. I wanna do 2. Whatever you choose is fine. But at the end of the day, it's gonna take care of that and do that so that it just has that reminder. You know what? I probably should go in my buddy Joe's Facebook
Yeah.
and make a comment.
I didn't know this existed. I think this is brilliant because when I think about like scrolling mindlessly through Facebook, why not use that time? You still get to be on social media, you still get to scroll through stuff, but now you're actually using it to create a touch. You're creating that interaction. And I do, one of the things that I have learned about Facebook especially, I don't know as much about Instagram, and it's, God knows I know nothing about TikTok. But
The tickety town?
making sure that if you're gonna comment, like creating that interaction, it's amazing. And what you'll find too, that's I think even a next step that is just a perk to this, the more you are interacting with other people, especially on Facebook, but the more you're interacting with other people, commenting on their posts, liking their posts, they start to reciprocate it. All of the sudden now you'll see that people who have never commented on your stuff before are commenting. And they don't even really know they're doing it, but there is something about that reciprocation that, oh, well, Jason commented on my post. Yeah, I'm gonna tell him that that's a cute dog or
Well,
whatever.
the other thing that happens, the way Facebook works, is if you're commenting on their posts, you suddenly appear on their feed
Yes.
more often.
Yeah.
And that's where they don't, yeah, to your point,
The
they don't know,
algorithm
but
starts to think, someone once said it this way, but they start to think you're a big deal. And the more and more of that you're doing, the more people are seeing your stuff, and then the more people are seeing it because now they're commenting on your post, which gets that in front of a certain amount of their Facebook friends. I think the Facebook algorithm changes every so often, so it's like once everyone figures it out, they switch it up, but at the same time, some of those pieces of it are just core. And I know social media isn't your thing. I don't think anyone should have to do social media if they're not comfortable doing it, but it is a way to get in front of people for free. I have a listing that went live today because I knew this woman 14 years ago in some networking group when I sold Norwex. And we're Facebook friends, have not had seen or talked to this woman in at least 13 or 14 years. And when she decided to sell her house, she contacted me purely because of the Facebook stuff that we've had. She's not on my 36 touch. I didn't even have her phone number, cell phone address, anything. So that interaction stuff is a way to take social media that can be such a time suck, like make it work for you.
and to your point, this task, if you got this set up, it's gonna show up in your phone. Literally see the tasks in your phone, on your task list, in your command app. This is the tasks. I go to the Facebook, I like the guy, I close the thing out, it's gone. You know, and then you're set. I mean, there's so many great smart plans out there.
Well, and Ryan, and Selena too, I know that sometimes taking on the expense of postcards or something like that, doing a mail news, things that cost money, you can work into that, but using these smart plans, that's a way to stay in front of people. Setting up the smart plan is free, and for the most part, the touches are free unless you're like sending a card or something. But to keep the cost down, use what's available to you. You're paying for command no matter what. Use it. Make it worth your $45 a month or whatever it is. Is that what it is?
No, that's me.
It's all you?
I'm the 45 bucks.
Oh.
There's
Questions, thoughts?
so many fantastic plans. I like, I just want somebody mentioned being more engaged, like on holidays.
Yeah.
This
he does.
author of the holiday one, we'll take a look at what they put in there. You set everybody up on this. This one's a simple, or a design.
Yeah.
I set up my reply to, it sends out an email to everybody, and it sends this little picture.
And here's the thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. This is what I have said this many, many times, but even if someone never opens this up, even if this was just like junk in their inbox that they're gonna delete, they had to see my name when they were deleting it. And hey, you can come in.
Sorry, I was just listening.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You can come in if you want to. But you know, same thing with a postcard. I got really hung up when I was new and I was thinking about sending postcards to people, and I thought, you know, like, oh, but if they throw them away, well, they're gonna throw them away. I bet 99% of them are thrown away, but they have to see my name while they're walking to the garbage. That's what I always tell myself and then that's the consistency, right? If I send one email card and they delete it, they're not gonna think of me again. But if I do this with every holiday, if they're on a neighborhood nurture, so they're seeing my name every month or 2 weeks or whatever that time frame is that you choose, it doesn't matter how often they delete it, because another one's a coming and it's gonna land in their inbox, and they're gonna see that consistently over months and years. And I'm all for keeping it cost effective until you're ready to take on the expense of something like Sensations, or start Sensations small, and then, you know, make a goal in 6 months. I want to add 20 more people or 50 more people.
If you're not familiar with how command works, all those things that say like agent first name, market center logo, agent first name, agent last name, that's going to pull and populate automatically for you. So like in this case, it's going to say your friend and realtor Selena, your friend and realtor Ryan. Up here, it's going to have your name, your last name, your phone number, your email, your photo. It's all right there. You don't have to mess with it. You just don't. And if you do, focus on this. You know what? I'm just not a fan of the word carve. I gotta have cut. Fine. You can edit that. You can change that if that makes you happy. But, you know, you don't have to put in extra time when there's so many great agents putting in this time for you, essentially for you to borrow free of charge and interest.
Is there a way, oh, sorry.
Go.
I was just gonna ask, so for these type of smart plans, that are an email, because my, like, the ones that I typically use are like the neighborhood nurture, like the birthday ones, but if it's like an email like this for a holiday, is there a way to bulk send it to everybody? Like, or do you have to go through each,
Oh,
do you know what I'm saying,
aren't
like
you
each
precious.
page? Because when I did my New Year's text, I remember that. I feel like it took me a while because I had to do like each page only as bulk. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm going to hopefully get the slow internet working here. Working. I'm gonna change this to show 500 contacts.
And then that's the page.
That would
right?
save me so much time on New Year's.
You know what, I have to tell you, this can't be that old, because it used to be the most you could do was
Yeah.
50.
It's been a while, but it was
And I
50
haven't
for a
been
while.
in command in a
That's
while,
true.
but yeah, that's amazing.
500 contacts, select this button here,
Select all,
that's select all, select bulk action, add the smart plan, and then in this case, we'll do my Halloween, add the smart plan, You're gonna fire them all up and out they go. Email sent as soon as I hit confirm. And earlier I mentioned that stagger thing, where if you want to do the social media thing, this is that stagger option. So that
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
only gonna do
So many,
so many a day. And I can set that number manually, or I can just use the little numbers here to choose any number of contacts that I think is gonna work for me. You know, and if this one, I want to do 40 today, that's, I can do whatever I like, but such just simple ways to cheat. It's not even, it's cheating, but it isn't cheating. It's how you have to do this to be competitive.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So I want to circle back a little bit to the math that we did at the beginning, and I want you to calculate, if you didn't already, what your gross commission would be if you had, with the current number of people you have in your, all of the contact information for in your database. And then maybe think about if I got 20 more, 50 more, 200 more, what would that calculate to?
Is this
Well,
supposed to
I'm
be
gonna tell
yearly?
you that every 6 you add, 1 sale.
But they don't, let's see, there's some explanation for why you can do, but you can't do 2 out of 12, wasn't that?
Well, the math, I mean, the math is every 6 you add, you're gonna get 1 sale, but again, whether that's gonna be today.
Right,
Or somewhere over the time period is the thing. Math works best the more numbers you have.
Yeah.
So if you only had 6, well, I mean, on average, it's gonna be 1, but it's not gonna work quite that simply.
Right.
Hey, I made 6 friends today, I'm so house. Not quite, buddy, but there's a solid chance.
Yeah.
That in the year, the buyer or seller.
But it has to be that consistency. You have to be truly reaching out to these people 36 times or more. The other thing that I want to remind you of, because I know even people on my team have said, you know, well, I don't know anybody that is ready to sell a house. It is, when you think about a 36 touch, yes, you're reaching out to those 200 people or 500 people or whatever that number is, but the goal is that you're also kind of connecting to their spheres as well. And so don't think of it as finite as this many people, this many, you know, clicks in your database, tags in your database. If you're consistently reaching out to Sirius Black, I was gonna take a picture of some of these, my kids love Harry Potter. But if you're reaching out to Sirius Black and he's getting postcards from you and emails from you and a market report from you and a quarterly call from you, and then he is, you know, grabbing lunch with a coworker who says, you know, my daughter is gonna be moving here. She just got a new job in Minneapolis and she needs to be here by the end of June. Wouldn't it be awesome if Sirius Black said, you should call my realtor Megan. She would really be great with your daughter. That's the goal. It's not simply about Sirius Black making a move in the next year. It's about anybody that Sirius Black knows that he might recommend give you a call.
Because Draco might reach out to Lucius, man.
Yeah.
It's possible. He's not on my list. I don't know Lucius, but I do know Draco.
Goodness gracious. My daughter looked at this college several months ago and it was a no, like we got out of the car and she was like, no. And they have recruited her harder than any other school. That was just them calling me. I was gonna take a picture.
You can get their email too.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
those emails, man, those are legit. I've looked them up.
I see Ravenclaw, yeah, those look
are
pretty
legit.
Who creates this? Did you put all these in? That's great.
Well, we used to have like agents in there,
Yeah,
and you can't have people's real
no,
names.
this
So
is great, I love
every few days I get bored and add a whole nother universe.
it. All right, well, I do have to go get my dog and take her to the vet, but thank you for sharing, thank you for being here, Selena and Ryan, and thank you, Jason.
Of course.
Thank you.
Next week.
Where are you going, Arizona?
Yes.
Lucky.
Hi, everyone.
I bet it's already like 90 degrees there.
It's 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like even mid 80s, I think. And I haven't looked for what it'll be next week. I had just looked to see what tomorrow and Friday will be. So,
One year I went in May and it was 110. So,
Gross.
yep. It was a lot.
I love that.
I didn't hate it. I